We provide site-specific induction for all workers and contractors prior to any work being conducted for any particular project. Visitors to the site will be supervised at all times and given a specific induction as required. Number 1. Site safety rules. All workers must complete the site induction. Smoking is only permitted in the designated smoking areas. No swearing, rude hand gestures, or demeaning comments. PPE must be worn on site as per SWMS requirements and at a minimum. Footwear, steel cap boot. High visibility clothing if working around a mobile plant. Hard hats. Number 2. Supervision. All workers must have adequate supervision. Decide supervision levels on the risk level of task and experience of workers. Visitors will be accompanied by site representatives at all times while on site. Adequate supervision must be provided to ensure compliance with SWMS. Number 3. Licensing and permits. All persons must have appropriate and current licenses and work permits. License to perform high-risk works, asbestos, confined space, and forklift. Number 4. COVID safety. In the following scenarios, staff cannot attend work if they have returned from a COVID-19 hotspot, directed by a government body to self-isolate. Employees who have symptoms of acute respiratory illness are recommended to stay home and not come to work until they are free of fever. COVID safety practices should occur. Staff should regularly clean their equipment. Do not shake hands with staff, clients, and visitors. Wear a mask if not able to socially distance from others. Use sanitizer regularly. Number 5. Safe work method statements. SWMS must be developed in consultation with relevant workers. It must comply with requirements of current and local health and safety regulations. Workers must comply with SWMS at all times. It must be available and accessible by all workers. It must be updated to reflect any changes and communicated to workers. It must be read, understood, and signed by relevant workers. Number 6. Electrical safety. All electrical equipment must be inspected before use. All electrical equipment must be tested and tagged. Electrical work on energized equipment is not permitted unless necessary. Only licensed electricians may work on energized electrical equipment and under strictly enforced SWMS where utilizing suitable PPE and equipment. Where conducting work near overhead electric lines and/or underground electrical utilities, identify hazards and implement suitable controls according to state authority requirements before work commences. Where possible, the relevant authority will be contacted to ensure power to the area can be isolated. If this is not possible, conduct work in the safest manner possible. Dedicated spotters and implement risk assessments accordingly. All underground and overhead electrical hazards must be marked and communicated to workers. Electricians must confirm emergency procedures are in place prior to starting work. Number 7. Worker responsibilities. All persons on site must treat each other professionally. Discrimination will not be tolerated. Workplace bullying, violence, or practical jokes is not acceptable. Workers must take reasonable care of their health and safety and ensure that their actions or inactions do not put others at risk. Workers must comply with SWMS policies and procedures at this site. Workers must participate in toolbox talks and safety meetings where possible. Number 8. Housekeeping. All persons on site must clear away their waste in a reasonable time. Construction materials and waste must not be stored in walkways or other areas where it is a hazard to others. Workers are responsible for cleaning their work area prior to starting work. Number 9. Plant and equipment. Plant and equipment must be used for designated purposes and within manufacturer limitations. Persons operating plant and equipment must not use their mobile phones, including making and receiving calls, sending texts, or using any other features. Operators must hold relevant high-risk work license if required. Operators must have required training and be competent before using machinery. PPE must be worn as per manufacturer recommendations. Plant and equipment must be serviced as per manufacturer's recommendations. Plant must be registered with the regulator where required. Exclusion zones should be set up where possible. Number 10. Emergencies, evacuation, and first aid. Workers must report all incidents and injuries to the site supervisor and complete an incident form ASAP. The emergency evacuation procedures will be explained to you by your supervisor. The evacuation point is marked in the evacuation procedure displayed at site. Workers must know the location of first aid kits and fire extinguishers. Workers should call 0 in the event of an emergency. Workers must know the location of the nearest medical facility. I know the location of the first aid kit and fire extinguishers. I am aware of the first aid officers and medical facilities. Number 11. Drugs and alcohol. There is a zero tolerance for drug and alcohol use on site. You must not be under the influence of drugs or alcohol while on this site. While at this site you may undergo random drug and alcohol testing. Workers found to be under the influence of drugs or alcohol will be banned permanently from site. Workers must report any suspicious activity to the site supervisor. You may not bring any drugs or alcohol onto this site. Number 12. Hazardous chemicals. MSDS safety data sheets must be provided for all chemicals brought to site. MSDS must be current. Less than 5 years, all chemical containers must be labeled. PPE must be worn as per MSDS requirements. Workers must be trained on the chemicals they are handling. A method for handling spills and cleaning must be available. Number 13. Working at heights. When working at heights, edge protection must be in place before starting work. Railings and scaffold must have top and mid rails. Voids must be covered unless in use immediately. Ladders must be appropriate for work. Non-conductive, platform, undamaged. Scaffold over 4 m must be erected by licensed scaffolder and have scaff tag attached. Mobile scaffolds must not be over 4 m in height. Mobile scaffold may only be erected by a competent person. Fall restraint systems must be accompanied by a competency certificate.